United States 250th anniversary is coming up pretty quickly, and I wanted to get your take on the spiritual significance of the anniversary.
Yeah, that's a great question because there's probably very few questions that are more important than that right now, I think. You know, we go through these cycles in time, and at a certain point where these energies intersect in these cycles, it's a reconciliation of opposites that must happen at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the spiritual significance of this anniversary. Well, what does that actually look like in this social structure? America has to reconcile its past with its future. It has to reconcile its present moment with itself. And these things, because you don't understand it or because that reconciliation is being manipulated for you, it doesn't get you off the hook.
Right.
You see? And so America's past coming back to reconcile itself in this unnatural way.
Right.
Would it's still going to have a reverberating effect on its future.
Mm-hmm. Like what would an example be?
For one, or how that relates to Black culture, this Black American thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we mentioned it a few times, but I think it's worth going into again. Mm-hmm. It's a very important part of this, the spiritual significance of this moment for the country. Mm-hmm. African Americans obviously don't have a lot in this country, and that's dictated in terms of the power dynamic being divided by color. Mm-hmm. So when they made that construct, you know, in medieval times, we're going to go by black and white.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
that was based on certain occultic principles because black and white is the least important part of our existence.
Right.
Which also means it is simultaneously the most important part of our existence because that's what that reconciliation of opposites look like.
Okay.
So that what that means is at this time is we're supposed to be celebrating how far African Americans have come as a culture and the contributions that we have made as a culture should be celebrated tremendously at this moment.
Yeah.
It's going to speak to the spiritual growth of America. It's going to speak to the spiritual growth of both cultures, black culture and white culture. It's going to speak it's going to speak to their relationship with each other. Mm-hmm. And that's what that reconciliation of opposites look like. And the oppressed class of people then become the people who refuse spiritual growth. That's where, a hierarchical structure is always going to exist in a society because it can't function otherwise.
Right.
But that bottom tier of the oppressed, that it should be decided spiritually. That is for the people who refuse spiritual growth, be they black or white.
Right, because there's both.
But this has to be based on real spiritual growth.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so one way that would look right now is black culture being fully celebrated for how far it's come under the physical and spiritual oppression that it's been under. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about it. And it was all out war on black culture in the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
It was all out war. And we don't want to look at it and see it for what it was, see it for what it really was. It was a war to obliterate a culture.
Yeah.
And so therefore, a leader of an entire group of unbelievably strong and powerful black men were gunned down, reputations were destroyed, sitting in prison, psyops, all of these things. And I mean, it wiped out a large part of black culture.
Mm.
We're looking at 2-3 generations now, or 2 generations maybe into crack babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're to the crack baby epidemic. You don't remember that?
I think I was too little.
Yeah, the crack baby epidemic of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids grew up.
Right.
And they had kids.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it is what it is. But black culture, we still, in spite of that, we still got Blue Ivy.
Right.
Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, she's becoming a serious art investor.
Yeah.
Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about what the achievements of black African Americans right now at every level? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're supposed to be doing for this 250th. And you can check the math on that because we're actually celebrating it at its complete polarity.
Yeah, where like just public sentiment for it is just...
No. I'm talking about there being a dirt bike show on the White House lawn. There being
the UFC fight they had.
The UFC fight, this return of MAGA, this energy, this Nazi energy. See, you got to understand that there's forces that understand what is supposed to be happening right now.
Yes.
So you'll hear this conversation about somewhere on, you'll see these videos about how God is going to fight the battle for black people.
I've never heard that.
I've
never heard that one.
Yeah.
But
listen, based on occultic principles, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether African Americans understand that or not, if you have a group of people that do understand that, so they know how to counteract that. And one of the ways to counteract that is by getting black African America to disown itself as African Americans and to take on this new identity of black Americans. Mm-hmm. that is signing over your spiritual power to the for the next generations. Mm-hmm. So let's say if the African American struggle gets so bad to a point that they decide to push back on what's happening to them, to fight back.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Then there are spiritual forces that will come to their aid in the form of other governments and other global powers will step in and say you cannot do that to them. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
I think so.
That is with the spiritual identity of being African Americans.
Okay.
If you don't know what it means to now call yourself Black Americans, you don't know what you're doing to your grandchildren.
Right.
You're stripping them of any spiritual power that they may have.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I wanted to get back to, and it's related to this, is when you said like the videos of God will fight my battle for me.
Right.
I think, to me, when I hear that, I hear it in like the context of like Christianity, and in that vein of spirituality, and it seems like it's not right.
That's because that spiritual concept does exist, but Christianity turns it into it perverses it by turning it into a particular spiritual doctrine that means waiting on somebody to come fight your battles.
Yeah.
That's not what it means.
That's not
What it means is be bold, and great forces will come to your aid.
right. And
Like her,
yeah.
you see my point?
Yeah.
That's what that spiritual force means, that God will fight those battles with you.
If you're identifying with your
Exactly.
ancestors and your full, potential.
Yeah, well, identifying with your ancestors is a way of keeping that umbilical cord intact, but not accepting oppression as a group. Not accepting that oppression, but no matter what that means, and do it. And so you do want to do it as peacefully as possible.
Yeah.
But you do not accept oppression. So that may mean on an individual level, it can still look like doing all you can to achieve.
Right.
No matter what that may mean, identifying with the gifts that you have in you as an individual. And no matter what it means, you bring those gifts out to the world.
Right.
So it can also look like that. You see what I mean? And those great forces will come to your aid. But on a group collective, it would look like a rebellion.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because that means that force is not being pushed intrinsically on an individual basis. It's been shared grouply as a group.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if it ever comes to that point where that group wants to rebel together because they're not working on themselves intrinsically and individually, where you are seeing a Halle Berry, a Eddie Murphy, a Jay-Z, a Beyonce, Denzel Washington. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier, Jack Johnson, Mike Tyson. You see my point?
Yeah.
Barack Obama,
Right.
Magic Johnson, Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson was the first one that came to mind when you were saying, like,
Red Fox.
Yeah. It might look like, sharing your gifts, like, and he still had to go through things. He had to ask CBS to, to make MTV show his videos.
Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
We don't even want to get into that degree of power. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Michael Jackson was a black man first and a performer second.
Yeah.
Now, his expression into the world, we remember him as a performer. So no matter how much you think he was grand as a performer, and he was, he's going to be talked about for, centuries.
Right.
His legacy will only get bigger. His music will only keep going.
Yeah. It's timeless.
He will set the standard for what classical will be. Now, having said that, his aura came from him being a black man.
Yeah.
You follow me? And so this is what should be Dr. Dre's story.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is what 50 Cent. Like, we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
But this is what should be being celebrated right now. And America is having a problem with coming to terms with that.
Yeah.
That's the most important or the most significant part of understanding this 250th anniversary.
Yeah, I feel like America is, we're going through like real growing pains right now.
Yeah, but this is why it's not. This is why it's not being reconciled correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? You know, Juneteenth should be celebrated by African American culture, and it should be celebrated by white culture. And we should be okay with understanding the differences and appreciating the differences and bringing them together.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
I agree. Like, if we can celebrate the 4th of July, we can absolutely celebrate Juneteenth.
Juneteenth should be at a minimum as big of a celebration as the 4th of July by Black culture and by white culture. And white culture should be putting its full support behind celebrating Black culture to the complete fullest. You know, Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
But what it's done is we've perversed that, and not only is it not happening, you have the majority of Black culture attacking its own celebrity class.
Yeah, that's really disappointing.
Not fully understanding that they overcome, as a group, we've been able to overcome all of those elements that's been put in place to completely oppress a society. And so that crabs in a barrel effect has Black culture attacking its own celebrity class instead of celebrating it.
Yeah. Celebrating someone's success doesn't minimize you in any way.
But that's not being felt.
Right. How do we fix that? Or is it like, how do we address that?
Well, you got to know it needs to be addressed. You have to acknowledge that it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you can research it. There's, you can understand what spiritual laws and occultic principles actually look like, and to a degree, how they affect you, whether you understand them or not.
Mm-hmm. Like, how does a hater know they're a hater, though? Like, you know what I mean? Because I mean, that's how it comes out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Haters know they're haters.
Do they?
Yeah, they know, because they gotta know. There's no way they don't know, because being a hater is an intentional thing.
Yeah.
Your intention is set. See, the majority of people, what makes people non-player characters is they don't have an intention. They're being guided. And so there's no intention there. If you're a hater, that's how you set your intention, and so you're intentionally a hater.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I guess you could have some of the non-player characters that are also haters.
Yeah. They also feel like, some of them feel like they're so extreme with it that like the psyops.
Yeah.
Like that's how they're being led,
So yeah, that's a good word, the psyop. You got to be aware of that. There's a seduction in being bad for the sake of being bad. There's a seduction in it.
Yeah.
And so you're never really going to fully overcome that element of a society. Just being bad for the sake of itself.
Yeah.
So we're always going to have that.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that in Black culture and white culture. And so being aware of all of this, because you can be aware. I mean, you can fit these spiritual qualities, some of these, without being fully aware of them.
Yeah.
But, turning your force in on itself, becoming self-aware of how all these different things are trying to play you against yourself.
Right.
And not just being led around by your nose.
Right.
And so you need that from black culture and you need that from white culture in order to celebrate the 250th. And so instead of us moving in the right direction spiritually, we're like somebody hit the reverse in the car as hard as possible.
Like they just slammed it in the
They just
middle,
slammed.
like going down the highway.
Yeah, somebody slammed the reverse in America.
Yeah.
A slam on the reverse, and we're flying up the highway in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So how does it look like in the future? You know, like Trump's going to be out of office. And so, like, how do we move forward once we're past this chapter?
That's a good question. America could see this experience as a purge.
Mm-hmm.
It can be seen as a purge. It can, if you've got something in you that's toxic,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't get out of you unless you purge it out. You vomit it out or whatever, but you got to purge it out. But now what's happening is you can't celebrate the vomit.
Yeah.
You can't celebrate the purge.
Yeah.
You got to understand it. It was a purge. It is a purge. And once you move past it and it's fully purged, if you recognize it as what it was, then we move forward in a healthy way. And if you see any elements of it that didn't get fully out, it's no, you've been purged. Mm-hmm. And then you can also have elements of that society that realize that as a collective that had to be purged, and as an individual it had to be purged. And so then the culture is able to move forward in a healthy way. We're fully aware of ourselves, and we're fully aware that we had to fully break down this systemic system. Because remember, systemic racism is just the extension. It's just the death rattle of a colonial empire.
Right.
It's the death rattle. Mm-hmm. That's where you get the systemic racism. But that's at some point it does collapse, and you do get a country that can live up to itself.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Germany went through like this purge process after like they had World War II and everything, and coming back to where they're at now? That's the process they went through.
Yeah, Germany's on the right path. It's illegal to say Sieg Heil in Germany.
Yeah,
it's not illegal here,
right?
But it's illegal there,
right?
And so, understand what that means spiritually. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
In that regard, Germany had a much, much darker moment, but it's on the right track spiritually in many ways. Mm-hmm. And you see that, a lot of European cultures are a shit show, but they still have more experience and maturity in what you see coming from America.
Yeah, and I think regardless of whatever their governments are going through socially, they do much better on the whole taking care of their citizens.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because they're more, even if they're not right now, more monarchy based in their history?
Yeah, absolutely. Monarchy is a different, it's a much more extreme form of government, and it does have a organic growth process before it, as it relates to the people's relationship to spiritual forces and spiritual laws. It is a different intersection, or a different middle point, liaison, than what this form of government is. This form of government, you need a completely healed social structure, more of what Greeks were able to evolve to. Mm-hmm. You see, but you got to remember, Greeks' history and moment, they intersected with black gods.
Right.
And so to not be informed of your government's machinations in ancient Greek, you were considered an idiot.
Yeah.
But now idiot is the norm.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I feel like, I mean, I've always enjoyed learning about history and government and things like that. Like growing up, I was, definitely a nerd. But I feel like most kids today going through school, like they don't pay attention to this. They have as little interest as possible and want to, try and just get through the topic and not understand, like, no, this is going to, govern how you live your life here.
Yeah. Well, we got to remember, go back to that original point of this being the 250th. It's just a moment. But, I mean, African American culture we've earned that moment.
Absolutely.
We've earned it. And so it should be fully celebrated. And being a moment, we all get back to business, get back to minding your business, like the Good Witch in the Wiz said. Remember?
Oh yeah.
When when the Good Witch landed in the Wiz? Miss One was just like, get back to minding your business. Back to minding your business. Remember at the end of that sequence, she told him, get back to minding your business. And then we can get back into that. After we have this amazing moment celebrating African American culture, but going from African American culture to calling yourself Black Americans, that's like hitting the car in reverse.
Yeah.
And then you flying up the highway in reverse, and everybody's yelling and screaming out the car because we flying up the highway in reverse, and we're having a great time flying up the highway. You see what I'm saying? Or that's how they see it.
Right.
Because remember, the government's driving the car, and you're an idiot if you're not aware that your government is driving the car in reverse.
Right.
You see my point?
Yeah.
So everybody's yelling and screaming out the car, having a great time.
Yeah, not
realizing it.
Like, oh shit, we're backwards.
And then the ones that in the car that's bad for the sake of bad, they know we're flying in reverse, and they're like, we're all going over this fucking cliff, and these idiots don't even know it.
Yeah.
We're all going over a cliff.
Oh yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
But if everybody takes a moment, we can hit the brake and go in the right direction.
Maybe we can do that over the barbecue that everyone's going to be eating on the 4th of July that we get from African Americans, because they get amazing seasoning from being African, and like how to flavor things and cook things and make these, amazing food, music, everything that we're going to do on 4th of July.
So that's what we'll do. We'll do the next several podcasts on how we can celebrate African American culture.
Yeah.
For this 4th of July. Because our food, white people know they have shitty plain food. Come on.
I don't season anything.
I'm just saying, as a culture,
the
food they're not seasoning. So let's celebrate African Americans. Let's celebrate everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We got amazing music to listen to.
Yeah.
In any genre.
Yeah, but especially the 70s, like Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind, and Fire and Parliament.
That just sounds like a great weekend.
Let's do it. You see my point?
Yeah.
And America, that's what should be. If we're going to do anything on the White House lawn, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Atomic Dog.
I wish Obama had been able to do that.
You see what I'm saying? Celebrate Black culture, man. And in that way, we're celebrating American culture if we do it that way. And it's an amazing moment, and we get back to business.
Yeah.
And then you're judged on your ability to be a good citizen. You're judged on your ability to contribute to your society, contribute to your government, to not mislead.
Right.
Let's have a moment of national honesty. Let's not mislead. Let's expose how we've been misleading. Let's hold ourselves accountable. And then the people, the population will hold themselves accountable. You see, because that has, see, intrinsically in an organism, this has to come. No, that's not true. It has to come from the mind of any organism. So this has to come from the government.
Yeah.
They've got to make the first step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And be honest and explain things. Hold itself accountable.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in a while.
Well, I mean, that's what the
Yeah, that's what
250th should look like.
Yeah.
If we're talking about what does it mean as a spiritual moment.
Yeah, true transparency would be, I think it would be eye-opening, and it would be a catalyst.
Yeah.
Like true transparency.
Yeah. And you know what? Because Obama couldn't do it because his term didn't fall under the 250. So it still gives white America the opportunity to step forward without there having to been a revolution by black culture.
Yeah.
Because they know they gunned down all the real leadership. And so now we're dealing with the third generation of crack babies. So they're non-threatening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we can take it, we can go in the right direction.